Hi there, Naomi Mush here. As I'm talking to you right now, I am working on peeling just a ton of apples. I have buckets and buckets and buckets of them that I'm processing, and I thought this is a nice time to chat, so we're going to chat. So, anyhow, Naomi Mush, and if you got my last newsletter, you heard me say that I'm trying to revive my YouTube channel, bring it to life a little bit. It's been around for a long time, and I mostly use it for things like grandma stuff, reading stories to my grandkids. I do a lot of book reviews on it, or I used to anyway, do some book reviews on it. And I talk sometimes about writing things, or I read some chapters, things like that. I do talk a little bit about farm life and the canning, gardening, that kind of stuff, the things that interest me. And that's probably what I'm going to continue to do. I haven't decided on narrowing anything more down, but I think it's a good opportunity for me to connect with people and to help you know who in the world I am. And so with that, let me start out with I am a writer. I write historical fiction. Sometimes I write some contemporary fiction. In fact, I'm working on something right now to release very, very soon. If you sign up for my newsletter, you'll want to do that because I'm going to have some real special something for my newsletter subscribers. But mostly I write historical fiction, historical romance, and it's of a Christian persuasion, worldview. Doesn't mean it's preachy. Sometimes I'm a little more direct, but most of the time it just means that that's the worldview that I come from and that I approach my life, my thinking, my home, everything that I do, really. So why shouldn't it be in my fiction also, in my writing? The other thing is that, and I didn't mention this in my newsletter. I will next time, but I've been part of the Heroes, Heroines, and History blog for quite a few years now. I can't remember how many years it's been. It's probably been like 7 or 8 years. I'm adding it to the pot. I'm making applesauce, by the way. So I've been part of the Heroes, Heroines, and History blog for quite a long time. Before that, I was part of the Colonial Quills blog. And it's just reached a time where I'm finding it in my own life kind of untenable to keep up with. Oh, I can't get that off the peeler. There, oh gosh. Anyway, it's gotten hard to keep up with. And it's a wonderful blog. And I mean, pretty much the gals there, if there's a piece of history you're trying to research and you type it into the old Google engine or whatever your search engine is, you'll probably get links to the Heroes, Heroines, and History blog because there's been so many wonderful topics covered. And so right now I want to redirect, do the YouTube thing for a while, see how that works, and then get a chance to, talk directly to people. And, you can talk back if you want to, be nice. And that's what I'm doing now instead, just to it's a time thing. It's a where we are today thing. So welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. I write my newsletter goes by the moniker of Northwoods Faith and Fiction because that's what I'm all about. I'm about my life in the Northwoods, and it's about my faith. It's about my fiction. I could add another F in there and say it's really a lot about my family. My family I want them to come first, and so that's what that's about. So what am I working on right now? Like I mentioned, I'm working on this contemporary thing that I have coming out. It's actually a compilation of 2 stories. One that I took out of print earlier this year that I received my rights back for, and it's a novella, and I'm going to combine that with this new novella, and together the book will be called A Haven for Love, because they both feature havens, respite places, and I think respite is so important. September it's actually the first day of fall as I record this. Oh, that's a nice big apple, but she was a tough one to get off thing. Your apples, my slicer is supposed to like slice them and dice them as I peel them, but I've broken something on it, so now I just peel it and I quick slice it off. But anyhow, fall kind of whips my butt because I do garden, and it's very, very busy, and trying to get everything taken care of. And hopefully when I'm done, when I get at least a good headway of this, I've got some exciting things going on this week here at home. One of my kids who lives in Indiana is coming up with some of the grandkids to hang out for the weekend. I can't wait. And he comes up every so often. And then after he heads back to Indiana, I'm going on a little road trip myself, just downstate. I live in Wisconsin, and I live way at the top. And I'm going to visit a reader friend down in the southern part of the state, south by southwest, I guess you could say. And we're going to hang out. And one of the things we're going to do while I'm down there is we're going to go visit the little town of Mineral Point. And Mineral Point, I have to tell you, is the setting for the book that I have coming out a year from now, a little over a year from now. And I was at a book sale, because who doesn't love those? A library sale. And I think it was a library sale. I found this neat little historical work, Mineral Point, a history of Mineral Point. And I'm like, I gotta have it. And it's been helpful in research for my story, but I'm also wanting to go down there and look up some of the exact locations of where my story is going to be set. Now, if you've kept up with me on the socials or in the newsletter, the book I'm talking about is the next Apron Strings Tea Tale series. The first book is releasing in a few days, and my book is like way down the line. It's next year. There's one or two books. Some months have 2 books coming out. Some months have no books coming out. Some books have one coming. Some months have one. And it's a really fun series because it's all these different authors, and we're retelling fairy tales, but with realistic settings between World War I and World War II. So not during the wars, but between those times, all throughout the United States. I think they're all in the United States. Maybe not. I'm not sure. And mine is going to be set in Mineral Point, and I am retelling Cinderella. I never thought I would do that. There's a lot of things in my world that I never thought I would write about, but that's what I'm doing. And I'm really having fun with it because, like I said, it's a realistic story. It's no magic, but it is the story of Cinderella. You'll recognize the things, but I have, hopefully, some really cool twists with characterization, and just the realities of the time period in Wisconsin. And there's a lot that was going on. Not only my story set in the early 30s, so it's not only the Great Depression, but there's some other interesting things going on in Wisconsin at the same time too, like the milk strikes. Young people will be like, what the heck were those? So read the story. But anyhow, the first one that's coming out in October is a story about the Little Mermaid. And of course, these all feature Mrs. Canfield's cookery book from the Apron Strings series, only it's not continuing to get passed on. It's each girl in each book is getting her own new copy, and it influences her. And there are also tea shops or cafes, whatnot, that also are part of the story, and that's why they're called tea tales. So they got a little bit of glitter, a little bit of romance. That's the magic. But anyhow, that's what that's about. So anyhow, I'm glad you're if you're watching this, that you've stuck with me this long to hear all about it. And hopefully in the days ahead, I'll post some more. I'm hoping to do a little more content, talk about some topics of interest that you might be interested in, and let you a little bit more into my world. And yeah, that's about it. Sign up for my newsletter. And oh, I have to tell you something I meant to tell you. And that is, I don't know, we all want to know what each other's reading. And we all want to know what each other's likes are and stuff like that. And I just have to tell you, I listened to a lot of books on audio because I'm always got my hands doing stuff like this, like what I'm doing now. And I just finished listening on audio to The Wings of Poppy Pendleton by Melanie Dobson. And I have to tell you that I think it might be my favorite book this year. I found it very compelling, very layered. I mean, so many mysteries to solve and twists. And even where I thought I had it figured out, and in some cases I did, in some cases I didn't, parts because there were so many layers. It was just so well put together. I don't know how she kept all her story strands straight. They were so good. So I really highly recommend The Wings of Poppy Pendleton, and the audio version is excellent. The reader did an excellent job. You know how it is. Sometimes you love a reader and sometimes you don't, and when it comes to audio. But I highly recommend that. Otherwise, people often ask the question of one another, do you prefer ebook or do you prefer paperback? And when it comes to research books and things like that, I generally prefer the hard copy. And on some of my fiction, I still read some hard copy, but I got to be honest with you, I love ebooks. I love ebooks because I read for pleasure at night when I go to bed, and it's easy to hold up. There's a light. I can make the type as big for my eyes depending on how tired I am and how hard I'm trying to stay awake to read the next page. And I do love ebooks. Right now, I'm also reading in my ebook, rereading after about 30 years. I am rereading Angela Hunt's Heirs of Kahira O'Connor. I'm almost at the end of the first book, and there was just a lot of things. I remember loving that series so much, but I only really remembered some of the very basic things about it, not all the little nuances. And of course, life has changed. My life has grown. Things have happened in my world that have made me interested in other facets. And from a writer's perspective, there's none better than Angela Hunt. And I'm really enjoying this story. I'm finding some typos in the ebook version, things like that, but things I think that were just, it probably came back into print after a long time, and now she's got it packaged all. You can get it all in one, and I'm super, super enjoying it again. I'm enjoying it, I think, almost as much as I did the first time I read it. So that's another one. If you have never read, I kind of consider that series kind of a classic series. I remember I read the paperbacks years and years ago, and now she must have gotten the rights back and reissued them and stuff. And from what I can understand anyway, and it's still a super pleasurable read. I've always liked Angela Hunt's stories, especially when she writes historical. There's some of her more modern books aren't necessarily my taste, because everybody's loves when it comes to reading are different. It's very subjective, and so depending on what your style is. But this first book in the series is called The Silver Sword, and it's set in the what would it be, the 1500s, and it's about a young lady who's out for revenge for her family. And John Huss features largely in the story, but she disguises herself as a young boy to become a page for the lord of a castle in Bohemia, and to eventually sets her goals on becoming a knight. And the whole purpose is to stay hidden from some very nefarious other lords who really want her, and to basically to abuse her. And so she's in hiding, and that's why she's taken this kind of disguise on. But in the process, she also feels like she'll learn to fight and protect herself, and to get revenge on the deaths of her parents, and to right the injustices. And of course, there is a developing romance that characters are just figuring out, because she just got revealed as a girl, and there's some developing romance. And so, yeah, you might want to read that one sometime if you never have. So I just killed a bug. I looked up and there's like this little fruit fly or something flying by, so I had to smoke it. Anyway, I think I'm gonna call this a wrap as far as the video goes, and I'll take this over here. Let's take a look at the apples in there. I'm going to fill that pot a long ways yet. And then what I'm doing over here is I covered the peelings and the cores just a little bit with water, just so it's barely covered. And after I cover it, I simmer it for some time, and then I leave it sit and soak in there for a bunch of hours. And then tomorrow or tonight or something, I'll strain it and reheat it, add a little sugar, and can it up, and I'll have some apple juice. And it's very, comfort food for the winter to come here in northern Wisconsin. So until next time, thank you for joining me, and have a great rest of your week.